what I love about it is that it stays true to what the story is, and it doesn't try to change up too much. And in this world of Disney adaptations of remakes, of animated to live action, this falls again in that camp of, was it necessary? Did it reinvent anything? And what did we need to have it?
Hello and welcome to the Movie Podcast review of Pinocchio. My name is Daniel. I am one of your hosts today, and joining alongside me is Shahbaz.
No name for me? Oh, my real boys?
Listen here, Shay. I have one set up for Anthony that you're going to appreciate.
Oh, I think I if it is what I think it is, I'm excited for it already.
All right. Well, I hope I prove you excited. And the film, the man who this film is based on, the origin story. Hello, Anthony.
Thanks, guys. Hello, everyone. There are no strings on me. I am stringless.
Oh,
he's more of a Geppetto, if anything. He's more like a clockmaker in my eyes.
Oh, I'm a clockmaker now. I make clocks.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Because you're always late to things. You for some reason can't.
I am
on time.
I am not late to anything. I'm always early, and I arrive exactly when I'm supposed to arrive.
Okay, there, Gandalf. Relax.
What did you think I was going to introduce Anthony as? Was that it, Shay? Was that it? Some variation of that?
Some variation of that. I definitely thought you were going to go more the Geppetto line because he's definitely a lot more Italian.
Right.
But I still accept what you gave.
Okay, I'm glad. This is going to be our review of Pinocchio, of course. This is one of the many live action remakes that we have been seeing from Disney over the last couple of years. And this film is going to be releasing on Disney Plus Day on September 8th, 2022, exclusively on Disney Plus. So this is a straight to Disney Plus release, very reminiscent of Lady and the Tramp, which we saw release on the release day of Disney Plus back in 2019. So it's cool to see that this is a film made specifically for that platform. And we're going to talk about it very soon. But first, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday and watch out the week through for our many, many reviews, because it is TIFF season. It is D23. There are so many things happening on the Movie Podcast. So stay tuned to our feed for everything that we have coming out. Of course, we have reviews from TIFF happening. We have a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline with Barbarian and Andor and all this other fun stuff happening. So there's so much to listen to. So make sure you subscribe to us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, whatever social media platform you have. We're most likely on it. And I encourage you all to join our Discord. We're having some great conversations on there for Rings of Power, for She-Hulk, for House of Dragon. Is it House of Dragon? House of Dragon, right? Yeah, it's House of Dragon.
House of Dragons? I think there's more than one dragon they have in the house.
There could be. I mean, we don't watch the show. Yeah. So you'll have to confirm with us because we do not watch Game of Thrones here. I'm very sorry. But we're having lots of great conversation there. So make sure you check it all out. But today we are going to be talking about Pinocchio. Like I said, this is going to be releasing on September 8th on Disney Plus. And I want to say a big thank you to our friends at Disney Studios Canada for inviting us to watch this review. Really quickly, before I kick it to Anthony for our synopsis, I do want to say we have some incredible episodes of the Movie Podcast out right now that you could check out. I really want to draw your attention to our interview series for the Rings of Power. No big deal, but we've been featured in a lot of different promotional spots for that show, which is amazing for us. As a smaller outlet, as a newer outlet, it's pretty cool to see our name, see the Movie Podcast name alongside, huge trades that are out there. And it's amazing. And I think for us who have been doing this over the last couple of years, it's a testament to, I think, to, what the three of us have been working on, but also you listening to this. You listening to this are the reasons why we've been able to have the opportunities that we've been getting and to hopefully keep growing. So let's keep going. Let's keep growing together. Let's keep building our Movie Podcast community together, because that's what it is. We're a big family here and we want to keep that going. Anthony, please kick us off with the synopsis for Pinocchio.
Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio, a live-action and CGI retelling of the beloved tale of a wooden puppet who embarks on a thrilling adventure to become a real boy.
It's funny going into Pinocchio. I was never a huge Pinocchio fan growing up, so I'm curious, when you guys are given your first reactions, is it the same thing for you guys? Shay, start us off.
Yeah, Pinocchio was one of those movies for me that growing up, it scared me more than I actually enjoyed it. Especially the whole. I mean, this is not spoilers anymore because this is a classic tale. But the whole donkey turning scene really used to terrify me, and the animation of that time period too was kind of scary in some ways.
Yeah,
Plus, I think I just kind of found Pinocchio as a character kind of annoying. Like I don't know why I couldn't relate to him. I was already a real boy, so for me, I couldn't. No, I'm just kidding. I just
I couldn't relate to his
I
his
couldn't relate to him
wants.
being a puppet. I didn't get it. No, it wasn't a movie that I think I'd put on too often. It also always felt very long to me because I felt like there were so many acts
Yes, there were.
involved in the story. So it wasn't my most watched Disney animated film. But when I heard that we're getting this version and we had Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing Jiminy Cricket and we have Robert Zemeckis directing it, I was very interested because Zemeckis is, you get a director that knows how to apply visuals to a film. That's Zemeckis. Like he knows his way in and out of CGI and to make it seem fun. Like him and Disney paired together, they've done some great things before. I look back to not Nightmare Before the Night Before Christmas. No, what was it called? Was that what it's
The
called?
No, it's the you're talking about the Charles Dickens one, right? A
Yes. What
Christmas
was it called?
Carol.
A Christmas Carol. Why am
Yeah,
I? Yeah, I'm so sorry. I got that confused.
it's okay.
And that was a great film with Jim Carrey, and the way that they animated it as well. So to kind of get this version, I was interested to see that if, as an adult now, would I enjoy the story of Pinocchio more? And while the visuals are great and the performances are great, it still didn't grasp me enough. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with this movie. I think visually it's stunning. It's great to look at. The performances by most of the cast, I think, are phenomenal, but it still didn't grab me. And I felt like the pacing still was a bit long. I felt like there were still too many acts occurring in this film, and by the end of it, it didn't linger too much on my mind. I think that what I love about it is that it stays true to what the story is, and it doesn't try to change up too much. And in this world of Disney adaptations of remakes, sorry, of animated to live action, this falls again in that camp of, was it necessary? Did it reinvent anything? And what did we need to have it? And I think I'm still in the area of, I don't think that we needed this one.
It's funny you mentioned that you were looking forward to this movie most because of Zemeckis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and not Tom Hanks, which is interesting. Which is interesting name to omit in
And
your
I love
first.
Tom Hanks, Daniel, and I love Tom Hanks,
Yeah,
but
Thomas Hanks. Thomas Hanks.
Timothy Hanks, I believe. No, I love Tom Hanks. He's phenomenal, but there's something about Tom Hanks that when he tries to do caricatures, it doesn't pan out for me. It was the same feeling that I had with him in Elvis, and a kind of the similar feeling I had with him as Geppetto. It felt like Tom Hanks playing Geppetto and not Geppetto. And I
Yeah,
think that was my issue with it again, where it's I can't see past Tom Hanks in this scenario. You could have gotten an actor that blends in to become Geppetto, but Tom Hanks still looks like Tom Hanks playing Geppetto.
yeah, and I think that's a fair spot to jump off of because I like you. I think I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat that they're in this movie.
Inside of the Whale.
Inside of the Whale. We're in the boat in the Whale. I loved a lot of the visuals. I really like that this film stayed true to the animated film, even though I am not the biggest fan of the animated film. It still carries a lot of the same heart, and it's cute. And I think kids who, again, I know animation is for everyone, but a lot of the Disney films skew more towards younger demographics. I think kids who maybe don't want to watch an animated film may be more attracted to this because it is, hey, this is a live action version of something. It looks more real, and people and those kids may be more attracted to watch something real other than something that's 80 years old at this point, right? But for myself, I think Tom Hanks's casting is interesting only because it's another caricature accented character that he's done this year, very reminiscent of Elvis, like you said, Shay. But it felt almost like when we see those like stage shows that we've been seeing like over the last couple years, like, oh, we're doing a stage production of The Little Mermaid or Cinderella, where it's like they get these big name actors to be part of them. This movie felt very much almost like it was a stage production, because it's relying a lot on just kind of these set areas. And then obviously when Pinocchio goes out to the world, we're seeing more of the world in the sea and everything like that. But it feels a little bit more like stunt casting, where it's like, oh, Tom Hanks is in this and he's doing Geppetto, and then we have Keegan-Michael Key, as a fox, and Lorraine Bracco as a seagull, and Cynthia Erivo as as the what was she, a
The blue
fairy?
fairy, the blue
The blue
fairy.
fairy, right? And then Luke Evans, who like was unrecognizable in this movie to me.
But it was
I'm
like
like,
one of those, when he showed up, I was like, "Oh, that's Luke Evans." Like
yeah,
it was that kind of a, oh, is he Gaston?
yeah. So it's interesting. It's a stacked cast of actors, but everyone kind of feels like they kind of came in, did their part, and then kind of went on their way. I want Anthony to jump in here, then I want us to kind of talk a little bit more about what we're looking for, or what can we do when it comes to these live action remakes. Anthony, jump on in.
Well, you guys know how I feel about live action remakes. They're not. I'm not a big fan of them. Um,
How
going
do you
get,
feel about Italians, though?
I'm a big fan of Italians. Yeah, why not?
Okay, good. Just making sure. Just making sure.
But getting to like my history with Pinocchio, I also am not the biggest fan of Pinocchio. Actually forgot how much like the music plays, like the music that's in Pinocchio plays in the whole like Walt Disney feel and theme. I didn't know, like, I guess maybe I forgot, or it's just a lost memory, that it originated with that wish upon a star type of thing.
Yep.
Started with Pinocchio, and I kind of enjoyed that kind of reintroduction to that song and where it originated from. But I know the story of Pinocchio. The first thing that kind of comes to mind is always Disney's Pinocchio. And you have Robert Zemeckis, who we know, Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, Castaway. He's done quite a bit of films.
Welcome to Marwin.
Yeah, I don't think that's the one that we want to remember. But you expect him to kind of give you something more. And with all the other live adaptations of these classic Disney films or animated films switched to live action, there's always like this. It feels. It doesn't feel like the original, and maybe this one felt too like the original, and it kind of went to the extreme where it's almost like shot for shot, like for like, even down to Jiminy Cricket's voice and
Yeah.
Pinocchio's voice. I just felt like this was a movie that was taking place in a different time. I just don't expect Pinocchio to sound like someone from the 40s or 50s. I think that it came out during the 40s or
Yeah,
50s.
1940, 1940s. This film.
Yeah. Or Jiminy Cricket sounding like Jiminy Cricket from that time period. I kind of expected something else, just a little bit of a change up. I also expected Robert Zemeckis to give me something different than what we got in this film. And even though it's visually great, like this is a fantastic film to watch, and I think a lot of kids will enjoy it. I just there was nothing that it added to the whole, to the Pinocchio world that really changed it from the original. And I kept asking myself again, well, do we need this? Do we really need this? Tom Hanks was Tom Hanks playing Geppetto. And I think I don't know if it's Tom Hanks has hit a level where he just it feels like every movie he does, it's just Tom Hanks playing a character rather than really invested in the character itself and seeing
Yeah, to him becoming a character,
becoming
right?
a character. I just see Tom Hanks now. I don't see the character anymore. Maybe that's something like he maybe has to take some time away from movies, because I feel like I've seen him in quite a bit of films this year, even last year. But the overall experience of Pinocchio just feels like the cartoon, and I rather watch the cartoon than this live action, even though there are really cool sequences that really draw you in. I just couldn't get past the fact that, did we really, really need this? I'm also not a big fan of Pinocchio, like the character, like the animated version of this Pinocchio. I'm not a big fan of his eyes. I feel like they're too wooden. I feel like it was almost like he was pale skinned at times. You could see like the wood grain in him, but
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, it just took me away from the how I envisioned Pinocchio in the cartoons. But yeah, it's kind of like my thing. I was looking forward to it because you have Robert Zemeckis, you have Pinocchio, which I'm not a big fan of. Maybe he'll make me a fan of this film, and he still didn't. Even though it's I think kids will enjoy it. I just don't think this is, the version I would share if I had children.
I get you. And I think, I think that's what's interesting right now with these live action remakes. Do you go shot for shot, look for look of the original, or do we do something different? And we've had a lot of live action remakes over the last few years where we have something like Cinderella, which I think was fantastic. Probably one of my favorite live action remakes that Disney has done. Great performances, great style, great visuals to it. And then we get something like Lion King, which looks gorgeous, is beautiful, but it's missing out on the emotion that the animated film has, because there's things that you could do in 2D animation that you can't do in 3D animation. And this is a live action film. I think it looks very beautiful and vivid, but there's sometimes when I was watching it that I can't get past how vivid and bright and clean everything looks, where I wish this movie had a little bit more of an aesthetic, a little bit more of an art direction. You definitely see it in places like in Geppetto's workshop. And I love that Figaro and the fish, I'm blanking on the fish's name. They look exactly like they did in the animated film, which is cute. It's a nice way to, take the feedback I think that everybody had with Lion King, where it's like, here are these animated cats that aren't really showing emotion, where no, here are the animated pets in Pinocchio, but they look like how you remember them to look, but they have like a modern spin, like a live action look to them, which I thought was a good idea. But I think when we kind of get out into the worlds, that's where it starts to lack a little bit more of that art style. Everything looks very just clean and new, where I wish it had a little bit more of just like a bit more of a clearer art direction for this film. But yeah, it's interesting that Pinocchio literally looks exactly like the animated film as well too. That was a very interesting choice that they went for that.
I think it's interesting that this year as well, where us Pinocchio heads are blessed with getting another Pinocchio film by Guillermo del Toro, and that version, from what we've seen so far, looks extremely different. Like I think is
Yeah,
like the best way
it
to
looks
say it.
like a Guillermo del Toro
It
film.
looks like a Guillermo del Toro film, and again, still not too interested in the Pinocchio story. I am interested to see what he will do with it, because del Toro is just known for adapting but making it his own thing. Like he leaves
Right.
his stamp on it. So I am curious as to what that version is going to look like. Obviously we're going to watch it, we'll review it. But what I think about this one that suffered was, it just felt like a recycling. Like we just kind of saw it already, we've seen this before, and it further kind of proves that point of, I think I'd just stick with the original. And I don't want to sound like an old curmudgeon here or something, but it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's kind of where I was with this. Like, you can definitely clean up the animation, make it 4K, and I think they've already done that with the original Pinocchio.
Yep.
But you probably didn't need this, because it just felt like it was the same thing.
Yeah, it's a very interesting look at this film, and I'm really curious to see, where are we going to go from here. Are there like, we know The Little Mermaid is coming. I feel like that film has been literally being made and announced since the first weeks of the movie podcast.
Seriously.
So it will be very interesting to see where we kind of go from here. But Shay, start us off. Give us your final recommendation for Pinocchio.
If you're a big Pinocchio head, I'm not sure what they call you fans out there, the liars or the truthers. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
I don't think they call him that. No,
No, they don't
Not
call them that. I don't know.
No, the
Hey, we're a bunch of
truthers?
liars over here. I don't know. I have no idea. But I think if you're a fan and you wanted to see something like this, definitely go watch it. I mean, you've already paid for it. It's on Disney Plus. But I think for most people, this is just added to the queue.
Yeah.
And maybe one day you'll go and visit it. Maybe one day you won't. But the queue will keep growing no matter what.
The queue will always be growing. I'm going to
Just
join
like
you.
Pinocchio's nose.
There you go. It's funny, like I always growing up, I always remembered Pinocchio's like nose growing being a lot more of a thing, but it really is just kind of like that one scene in the.
It really is
In the
just
film,
one
yeah.
scene, right? Yeah, I know. Even in my head, I think there was more Pinocchio nose growing in Shrek than there was in
In the
these
entirety
movies.
of in the Pinocchio films, yeah, which is so
Yeah.
funny. Shay, I'm going to join you right there. This isn't added to the queue. It's Disney Plus Day. It's nice to see a lot of new shows and movies available on the platform. But eventually you'll be able to check this one out, put it on for the kids. They'll probably have a great time with it. It's cute. It's a cute movie at the end of the day. But I think There are so many options to watch right now on Disney Plus. So I think add it to your queue, get it to eventually, and see for yourself what you think. Anthony.
Also added to the queue, I would recommend maybe waiting a while. I think this movie is coming out at the wrong time too. Like I think we talked about it. Like I felt like this is a movie that should be coming out during Christmas season, like maybe
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. It would have been great to have. I know they want to celebrate Disney Plus Day, but like it just feels like a movie that would have happened during the Christmas season, especially people, family around the house. You're gonna be watching a lot of TV at that time. Let's release Pinocchio. Even though it's not a Christmas story, it just does feel like a Christmas story. It's about a toy, a wooden
Yeah.
boy. But I think the animated version is still what I would go to, and I would recommend going to the animated version. And then if your kids really want to, they can put on the live action.
Yeah,
But
if they can't get more Pinocchio, if they can't get enough Pinocchio, I mean, the nice thing is that there are so many, there's a lot of options on Disney Plus for Pinocchio and spin-offs and all that
yeah,
stuff. So
there's
there's
so many
lots to watch.
Pinocchio films. Roberto Benigni's Pinocchio. We got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It's interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. And you know what? Maybe next year we'll see even more popping up. So who knows? But thank you so much for listening to the movie podcast review of Pinocchio. Of course, this is TIFF season, baby. So there's lots of movies coming your way, lots of reviews coming your way. So the movie podcast is the best place to be. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at the Movie Podcast. Follow us on YouTube, join our Discord, and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. There's lots of episodes coming your way. You don't want to miss any of it. That was this time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.